And finally, for today's episode, let's turn to David Trim for a look at Adventist history.
Welcome to This Week in Seventh-day Adventist History. This week, we again draw from an article in the Encyclopedia of Seventh-day Adventists online. You can read more at encyclopedia.adventist.org. On July 20 in 1956, Edwin Sebastian Butts died in Warburton in the Australian state of Victoria at the age of 92. Butts had been born on September 2, 1864, in Macon County in the U.S. state of Illinois. At the age of 23, he was baptized into the Seventh-day Adventist Church and within 2 years was working as an evangelist for the Illinois Conference. He attended Battle Creek College and was then called to work in the San Francisco Bay Area. And on June 2, 1892, he married Florence Davis at St. Helena Sanitarium, just north of San Francisco. Florence was a native of Iowa, born to Adventist parents, and at an early age, she decided to become a nurse. She trained at St. Helena Sanitarium, and almost certainly that was where she met Edwin. Their first daughter, Edna, was born in March 1893, but sadly died less than 2 years later. However, a sister, Alma, followed in 1894. In this photograph, you see Edwin, Florence, and little Alma. A year later, at the 1895 General Conference session, Edwin and Florence were appointed to serve as missionaries in the islands of the South Pacific. Edwin was just 30 years of age, Florence 27, and Alma only a year old. But on May 1st, 1895, the young family sailed from San Francisco. They served initially in Pitcairn Island, then for 10 years in the island nation of Tonga, and subsequently across Australia and New Zealand. Here you see a photograph of Edwin and Florence in later life. Edwin served at various times as president of the South Australian, Tasmanian, Queensland, West Australian, and North New Zealand conferences. And he also worked as a pastor in the states of New South Wales and Victoria in Australia. Edwin and Florence also served for several years on the faculty of Australasian Missionary College, today's Avondale College. And later, when their daughter Alma grew up, she went as a missionary herself. She married a young Australian pastor, Norman Wiles, and they served for several years in the New Hebrides, today's nation of Vanuatu, where, sadly, Norman died. Alma, though, went on to mission service in Papua New Guinea and later in Nigeria. This was a family completely committed to the prophetic mission of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And we have skipped over many stories. There is so much more to say about Edwin and Florence, and of course about little Alma, who grew up to be a missionary herself. You can read their stories and thousands more at encyclopedia.adventist.org. That website again, encyclopedia.adventist.org. That was This Week in Adventist History.